call. All are present. All are here. We are ready for public comments on items not on the agenda. 3-minute limit, please. What? Now can you hear me?
Yes.
All mics on? Sorry, I'm sorry. We're at public comment time. I'll take the public comments as they were handed in. First one is Ellen Clark. Ellen, what? There you go.
Can't say anything. Is that me?
That's you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'd like to talk about the drought and where we are in the community with regard to a new general manager. We have a pretty disheartened community right now. We're very impacted by the drought we're in. And then, of course, the fires and the extreme long-lasting heat that we have has worsened our situation. And at this point, the business people, the farmers, the ranchers, and the residential customers, I think many of us, I know I believe that we would like a voice and a strong voice in choosing officials that have the experience, the character, the knowledge, and communication skills that are needed to meet these challenges that are ahead of us. And I would propose a diverse local citizens committee, or at least a citizens representative who could be participating with Casitas in the search and selection for the critical position, so that we can help in finding trustworthy, appropriate leadership. We would also, or I would ask that you post the position nationally or use an executive search recruitment service. Have a number of qualified candidates. A woman wouldn't be so bad if you had a few of those. And I'm really asking you not to rubber stamp and just hire from within, which I think is unworthy of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have Robin Gerber.
Okay, we didn't plan.
Hi, I'm Robin Gerber, and Ellen and I actually did not talk to each other. But it's going to seem like we did. It's no secret that this community is deeply divided and deeply concerned about the drought. This board and agency has failed to adequately respond over not 1 year, but at least 6 years of declining rainfall and increasing heat. And yes, the buck does stop here. And so both the county and city of Ojai have had to call on this board to announce a drought emergency, which just happened, of course. In the words of Supervisor Bennett, it is crucial that those who rely on the district's water realize the dire nature of this drought. This strikes me as a desperate cry for this board to take action. I hope it won't be a cry in the wilderness, because you do not simply have a public relations problem. As I've heard some board members say, you have a failure to act problem. Action is needed, action that is data-driven, forward-thinking, and respectful and inclusive of the voters you serve. Now you must act on finding a general manager, and I hope that you'll see this as an opportunity. With the resignation of the general manager, you have the opportunity to not only bring in new leadership, but to do so in a way that is transparent and inclusive. I trust you will use a consultant to do a professional search. This is imperative. The people who put you in office are watching. We expect to see someone with the same level of professional credentials, proactivity, and firm commitment to serving consumers as our sister agencies enjoy. To this end, like Ellen, I am calling on you to at least add a citizen representative to the board's search committee, someone with the expertise to enhance your deliberations. Perhaps this could be a first step to forming a citizens advisory committee for this board. At least it will show that you respect the voters you serve, and respect and recognize the need for transparency and inclusion during this drought emergency we face. There are many citizens who are ready to serve without compensation, but for the good of the community. As an advisor to this search committee, I urge you to recruit someone as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Next, I have Jim Odling.
For several months in public comments at several venues, including here at the Casitas Municipal Water District board meetings, I hear the complaint that nobody, including the district, is moving fast enough to import state water as the action to forestall the growing water crisis, one based on statewide and regional climate changes. There's a maxim: please wait for facts before drawing conclusion. That is a maxim is not followed by people dead set on importing water as a magical fix.
You.
You don't have to.
Next, I have Bob Benny. Bob.
Steve, is this on? Steve, I want to thank you for all the years, 30-plus years at Casitas. Thank you very much. Really appreciate what you've done. I appreciate what the board's done. For some reason, I've gotten myself in a position where I get way too many calls. I'm getting a number of calls on this new water allocation that we're sending out. It seems to be complicated for a number of people. The other thing is we're going to be doing some kind of billing that's going to catch up to us in 3 or 4 months. And the sweetheart bills that we've been getting are going to change dramatically. And I'd like you to consider where they're going to be, and I'd like you to do some work and take a look at a bill today, and take a look at a bill and show what it's going to be in 120 days, and you're going to see it's going to be significantly different than it is today. Now, there's been a number of people that have requested that we do an allocation over a 3-month period of time rather than a 1-month spike. Well, the spike, unfortunately, over 3 or 4 months, we're going to be averaging just about every day over 90 degrees. So we're going to have an elevated water use. So what I'd like you to do is consider, we don't need a short-term meltdown with the billing. We need something where we're still engaging and we're still kind of sliding into this thing. And take a look, because we don't want to get to the point where, after all the hard work of getting Golden State out, we don't want people longing for the good old days. Okay? So really appreciate you spending some effort in looking into this thing and making sure that you fully understand the ramifications. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have under public comments. We'll move on to general manager comments.
Okay, well, I have just a few. I guess I'll start out with what the topic has been during public comment. I was going to say that for last, but we'll start with that. And making the public announcement that, yes, I have decided to retire on August 31st of this year after 34 and a half years of working with a unbelievable staff, unbelievable board. And when I think of proactive natures and things that we've done in the past, whether it's addressing the 1984, 85 fires, to the storms, to water treatment and hanging in there when others ran to get treatment in here and get that project done. That was, many of the things that we've done over the past 34 years, and many good people that I have learned from and worked with, and even some relationships that I continue. Did I see Richard Aegis in here? Richard? No. It was my pleasure to work with Richard Aegis for many years, and we worked together very well. And I see him every now and then working on other things, and just people like that have worked here at this district to serve this public. And I will tell you that the majority of the employees, if not all the employees here, are selfless employees that work countless hours. The fire was a good exhibit of that, and even the new ones. That when we come here, we're dedicated to providing water to the public and making sure that it's done right. And that means if you have to go without sleep, we go without sleep. And we've been working that way for the 34 years I know of. that we respond and we react. So I feel that staff, there's some areas that we have right now that are far beyond, quite frankly, even the level of expertise and level of effort that I saw in my other 34 years. Counting the last 6 months, I think we've made some marvelous changes in staffing when it comes to the O&M crew and many others, the lake, all the areas. So that, I just wish, I guess it's a wish, it's a hope. It was something that I talked to Dick Barnett before he passed on. Getting that lake full, not going to be able to do that. So it's been a good 34 years, and August 31st, I'm still working here until August 31st. So we're still cranking loose some work, and we'll get it done. So I want to thank everybody here for that, and also the public. I can't tell you how many people I have worked with, helped, tried to get water, and that's where I started, was in the customer service aspect of helping people with their will serves, their fire forms and things of that nature. So many people in this community that I've got to know for 34 years, and appreciate everyone that I have run into and have helped. And so that's all I have to say about that. So let's move on off of that and let's go forward. Yes, indeed. I just want to inform the board has been informed that the city and City of Ojai and County Ventura are going to be sending a letter to us. We're going to be talking about these in future meetings as far as where we need to go as we are heading towards October and heading towards that transition from stage 3 to stage 4 in our water efficiency and allocation program. And so we'll have to have some discussions regarding what we do going forward with any transition and decision to make a transition. Beyond that, I'd also like to tell you that we have our landing page is up at this time, and I'm going to have Mike Flood. We had a part of our team work on this along with consultants to be able to put this together, and I think Michael Flood, Bo, there were others that committed to it and worked on it to try to provide some more information to the public in a very straightforward manner and provide information on where we're at and what we're doing. So I'll turn over to Michael for now.
Great. Hopefully I can read that from the distance here. I tried to blow it up just a little bit. So yes, this is the water security landing page. Actually, it's its own domain. It's more than just a link on or another page on our website. It actually has its own domain, so folks can search for this web page in Google and find it separate from our own website, even though we do have links on our website.
Mike, when we go on to our home page, this comes up, is it not?
When you go on our homepage, there are links on our homepage that point you to this website.
Well, I saw this was prominently laid on the
It is, yeah. There's a big banner in there.
That's right.
Another link, I think, at the very top there.
You can't miss it.
So this, yeah, as General Manager indicated here, this has been something that's been worked on over a few months and has involved several staff members. I kind of sat down. I was kind of the first one to take a strike at this and see what was it that we could get out to the public. It didn't have a lot of technical language in it. Terms like beneficial use and even sometimes some of the other terms that we use commonly as water people. Average people kind of get lost in that kind of language. So we wanted something that really boiled things down. So we came and thought about basically 4 sections that we developed. One that would talk about supply, another that would talk about what we're doing to manage supply, then what projects we have on the horizon to supplement supply, and then some frequently asked questions, questions that we think folks have been asking and want to know the answers to. So this is the first section here. This is done kind of a different format than our current website. It's instead of separate pages, it's kind of one long page. It seems to work real well with cell phones, people with smartphones. So this is kind of what we went to here. And this very simply puts out a graphic that shows supply and demand, where we are with supply and demand. One thing I might say is this is not, set in stone. We've had some questions about what this number down here really means, because the whole area does not have access to the groundwater storage that's limited to certain areas within the valley. Yeah, it's something we're thinking about, and we might move forward with some changes. But also the current lake storage, this will change month by month, and we'll update that as that changes. On the other side, the current demands, we do have our year-to-date, basically our fiscal 18 demands have come in, and actually it's lower than this number as far as lakes demands. Also included in this is what we have as far as demands on groundwater within the district. And that's only district operated facilities, not everybody within the district boundaries who are pumping. This is just purely the district supply and demand. And so this includes all the wells that are in the Ojai Basin up there and in the one well that is in Miramonte. It was noted last week, this is one of the changes we made. It was noted last time that evaporation should be part of the equation. So we added that, and the message here is to show that the extraordinary level of commitment the area has made to conserve. Demands are, even with evaporation, less than 20,000 acre-feet a year. And if you compare that to supply, it shows that we have multiple years of water left. And that's assuming that everybody continues to do the great job they're currently doing. Moving on to the water management section. Top section talks a little bit about what the WEAP is, the Water Efficiency and Allocation Program. We also made some changes to that over the years, so there's a link down here to get to the WEAP report and also to the WEAP itself, I think is in there. Again, a graphic showing where our conservation is targeted to be and what actually folks are doing. I would say, it's just me, I would say that we're already conserving at a stage 4 level. Folks said one great thing about this area is people see and understand where the water comes from. And when the call for conservation has gone out, it's been answered very strongly. Moving on to different projects we have here. Again, it notes 4 projects that we've been either actively working on, actively spending money on along with our partners, or to ones that are more conceptual in nature. And it varies depending on the project. Gives kind of some timelines where we are and what the current phase is, and what we're looking at as far as what that's going to enhance our supply, how much supply enhancement we're going to get from that. So basically 4 projects up here right now. This one at the bottom, I think most people know this as the Hobo and the Verbo projects. These would be the deep well projects that we're looking at up near Robles. That we're going into the Matilaha Formation. And then some facts. Again, a relatively simple format that hopefully doesn't put too many numbers out there, but just enough that folks can get a real quick answer to some of the questions that they have. And including, when can we stop conserving, and that kind of thing. And then also a link. What was noted last time that the Ventura Watershed Council has a real good library of information. So there's a link down here to get to that site as well. And like I say, it's not set in stone. We're getting feedback on it, and we'll make some changes as time permits. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm Ellen. Where you say read the WEAP report right there, on page 19 of the WEAP report, you have this table that's drought parameters. And that's a very important page that I always thought, and I think a drought itself should be defined. But the drought parameters, it can take a layperson like an hour, you know, on the old site, an hour to find it.
Right,
You know,
right.
So if you're gonna go to the WEAP, I would add page 19 of the WEAP is the
Okay.
table of drought parameters. I think it would be really helpful.
One thing I might
I
also
think it's
note,
19 in my memory. I think
Okay.
it's 19.
now I'll take a look. I think I know what table you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's a,
We've also, we went out to bid for a revamp of our site, which is sorely needed. And, you know, sites tend to accumulate information, but don't necessarily organize it real well as it accumulates. So it's a lot of information, but sometimes hard to find. And we're putting together a committee to go over those bids and then, you know, work toward awarding a new, or an outfit that will do a new website. Correlate all the information that we've got, hopefully in a better, more readable format. So. Sure.
President.
Can you just scroll down to the Ojai desalter project?
Yes.
Let's see it. Thank you.
Yeah, that project is conceived of being essentially a deep well that has a problem with excess salt and could be treated. You know, you always have to worry about what you're going to do with the discharge in a project like that. We work with the sand district to take that extra you know, salt that would come out of that.
So you're speaking about an existing well that has one?
That could be an existing well that might be used for other purposes and that does not have drinking water quality to it. It also could be a new well as well.
Mr. President. Mike,
Sure.
got a couple of things for you. We need to figure out a firm amount of time for the update. You said once a month?
Well, yeah, as far as awarding the project, we're thinking.
No, just updating the facts
Oh, yes.
on this page.
Right, the water supply, yes, gotcha.
Is 1 month too long? Because it's already changed considerably.
Well, you know, we put out our consumption report once a month that has demands in it as well. We could adjust that demand number and supply number together. I would say if the area had a problem with people responding to the conservation message, we probably want to get it out, you know, daily if we could. But the area is doing so well with conservation, they understand it. Making sure that this thing's updated monthly is, I think, the frequency you need.
Okay, well, don't forget to update the FAQs.
These are rounded, yeah, they're rounded.
But I mean, do we know how much silt is filled in and ash or
Mhm.
whatever else? that comes out?
Well, the ash part, we haven't calculated any of that, but yeah, we did a bathymetric survey last year, and that number is adjusted.
So you have the groundwater, is that also, do we have accurate means of determining?
We usually work with the OBGMA on that. They're the ones that usually have real good numbers of what's going on with the groundwater. We do pull out one basin that's adjacent to what OBGMA works on. So, you know, that again, that is an estimate of water that we have available in those basins.
But an educated estimate.
Right.
I have a question,
Sure.
and that is as far as the evaporation, have you factored in the evaporation on the water park, Casitas Water Park? And how often is that refilled?
Well, I don't have that number off the top of my head. It's something, I think the demands of that particular activity is about 6 acre-feet a year, somewhere in there. That includes any of the evaporation, any, you know, the refilling, that kind of thing.
And what happens to the water when it's recycled?
It goes back into the ground.
Thank you.
what about the percentage? Because that's something that most people are really looking for.
Maybe like percent of full. I think.
32%,
Sure.
whatever that is.
I'd like to comment on
Sure.
Mr. Backerly's comment. I think people do need more frequent updates on the lake level. I think if you ask this, everybody in this room to raise their hand, but they
Can you hear the question, Mike?
Sure.
No one else can hear it.
Yeah, for more frequent updates. The main thing, yeah, we can get the supply that's almost daily, right? We get, that change, whatever that change is per day. It's just the demand side of it, we wouldn't necessarily have more than once a month.
As we drive that way, as we talk to each
Sure.
other, that's what people want to know.
Absolutely.
Mike,
So
one of
I
the
think
things
that
that
was-
may not, that I know we were still wrestling with was trying to show who gets what water. And
One of the things we had originally envisioned for this site was to put in a map that shows various areas, service areas of the district and where the water comes from for those service areas. I don't know how many of you were here when Jordan Kerr did his demonstration, but he had folks raise their hand if they knew they were on groundwater in the Ojai Basin, and almost nobody raised their hand. Just a few people did. Then he said, well, how many live in the city of Ojai? And a whole bunch of people raised their hand. And he said, well, all of you should raise your hand in the first question. So the city of Ojai, that system out there relies very heavily on the groundwater. That is great. I think that is a fantastic resource up there.
And that should be noted in your education, because most people are relying only on the lake levels and they don't realize about the groundwater storage that we have, and emphasizing that a little bit more, especially as you have more wells, groundwater wells that are going to come online, and you're going to be drawing more from that than the lake. And so it's kind of a misdirection to only look at the lake level as the only place you're looking.
And Mike, if you're gonna do that, only 59.1% of the people that draw water in Ojai get their water from the community facility district.
That's a pretty
The other 40%, I
precise
looked at
number.
the franchise agreement to see what was being paid.
Okay.
And so
59.1.
the franchise agreement excludes 40% of the people. And so those 40% of the people are not drawing water
I got what you're saying, the
from
areas
San
that are
Antonio.
actually outside
And
the city.
of that then,
Right.
when we take a look at the remainder of that, 25% about is being purchased from Casitas. So that gets that number down to less than 1,000 acre feet drawing out of that one unit there.
Right.
So
Yeah, and this includes
a lot of
Miramonte
people are
as
thinking
well.
it's a lot more.
That's all. Okay. I think, Gene, did you have a question?
Well, those are gross numbers up there, right, on the supply side? Those are total numbers?
Total, right.
And so you're representing that total number is recoverable, is that right?
No.
Now, Jordan Keir, when he testified here and was your witness, he said maybe only 45,000 feet at best was recoverable out of the ground. And
Yeah.
we've been talking to you about, well, how much is really recoverable out of the lake? It's not all 79,000, it's significantly less than that.
But you're basing
So-
it on one person.
I'm
You're
sorry,
not
but
basing
you
on
have
a wide breadth of studies. You're only basing it on one individual.
No,
There
this
should be a
is,
peer review process on that, not just a this person said that.
that's their consultant, number one. Number two, if you talk to any of the other experts that have looked at this, you'll find that they all agree you cannot
Have you
recover
ever
every
talked to
drop
me?
out of the ground. You cannot recover every drop out of the lake.
And that's not allowed by law, Gene.
I'm sorry?
You can only use the amount of water you can put to beneficial use, okay, by law.
Right.
And so, no, nobody can drain the groundwater and use it all.
So why
No
do
one
you
has that
represent that as total storage that you can supply to people? It's the
It-
wrong number.
It didn't say that. It's just a gross number for storage.
It's misleading to the people because
Trying
they
to
look
work
at
on
that
it.
divided up and you can
Trying to
say,
fix it.
Well,
there's 6 or 7 years and there's not.
There is also the fact that there is some replenishment to this, and there is no replenishment planned in this. So this is a point in time that says how many acre feet they're there. And then there is some rainfall, even though sometimes we think it's only half of what it was year before, there is and will be some rainfall which does do some replenishment. Unfortunately, the groundwater suffered this year because of the fire, and we hope there's enough rain that will wash the rest of some more of the ash out so that it can penetrate and go back into the aquifer. But
And I
we
think this also doesn't.
can't control that, but we have to acknowledge that there is some replenishment that's added to this.
And this also doesn't look at, basically the legal restrictions you have in Safe Yield. But, you know, the idea here is to have a kind of a gross understanding of what is down there. And, you know, given an emergency situation, a prolonged problem, prolonged, you know, even longer than we've had now, drought, you know, the resources that we could go after, it would take some doing. It might take new wells to get to all of that supply. It may take pulling a barge out on the lake like they did up at Kachuma and pumping that thing all the way down until there's a mud puddle to keep that amount of water, you know, get that all that water available to us.
How long would it take to implement that? Just
Was there another question back there? Yeah,
She's asking the question now.
She's asking a question to implement getting a barge on the lake?
Barge drill.
Yeah, the barge could probably be done pretty quickly. A well, we would need some lead time on.
It's pretty quick.
Probably 6 months.
Okay.
Bruce, you had a question.
6 months.
I think that 60,000 acre feet is wildly distortive. I would suggest putting a number in that would something like practical near-term storage, which might be something like 10,000 acre feet. I mean, you couldn't achieve 60,000 because it's too deep. You have to put all these wells in. Practically available within the next 4 or 5 years, which is what we're talking about for a drought. I think it should be something like 5,000 or 10,000. Anyway, look at that. I think this really distorts it way out of proportion in my mind.
Well, it's only representative of how much water you're standing on if you live in Ohio.
But it's not available, so I don't know, whatever.
Well,
Well,
how
listen,
deep are you thinking it
you're only
is?
it's only available for the amount of water you can extract and put to beneficial use.
Right.
It's a real limitation.
Likewise, it would be distortional to say something of a low magnitude that you're suggesting, Bruce, too.
Well, I mean, for the Upper Ventura River groundwater basin, we have the storage of, say, 10,000 acre feet total, basically, but we're down to the point now where we might have 400 or 500 left until we get down to our wells or sucking air. Because
I can understand that realizing that concurrent, it wouldn't be accurate though to use that concurrent if it's outside the Ohio groundwater basin.
Okay, one more question.
Okay, I do think this question of what's disingenuous, what appears to be disingenuous or not, is really important, which I think is what Jean was saying, that this appears to be disingenuous. It's not, if you say it's the water we're standing on, well, that's not necessarily the water we can use. So I think that's what the debate's about, and that's a good one. But what I wanted to talk about, which I also think is disingenuous, is if you go up or down to the state water tie-in. We've been talking a lot about that over and over again. Russ, there's a state water interconnect. We're hooking state water, we're hooking to state water. But Ojai is not hooking to state water. And that is very confusing. I have read that. It's quite confusing, and it does not make clear. It does say the water is going to Ventura, but then it says something about what Casitas is doing. Can we just be clear that the state water tie-in is coming to Sataquah? And in terms of actually bringing a tie-in to Casitas water, tell me if I'm wrong, that is not planned, that has not been engineered, that has not been looked at, and it's really disingenuous to keep talking about it as you all have been doing, in my opinion.
Yes, that is the first phase. There are other phases that would actually physically bring water to the area. Absolutely.
And are those phases indicated somewhere? Has there been engineering done? Has there been anything?
The hydraulic study of the crosstown, which I would say maybe you call that phase 2, is currently, that has been done by the city. And been talking with partners. We need to talk with the partners to find out, what that tells us, and then what we, plan to do going forward.
And can I find that somewhere on?
You won't find that anywhere. No, that's why at staff level, a very draft kind of situation right now. But it is being discussed and it's being studied.
What city?
City of Ventura.
What about the 30-inch pipeline from Callejas? We went and talked to them about it. They were quite open to say they were willing to help us build a 30-inch water pipeline here. Russ didn't know about it at one meeting, but they told us when Cheryl and I went there. What about that pipeline? It's direct from Callejas to us.
Direct from Callejas. Okay. Well, I don't know of a project that is a 30-inch pipeline that goes all the way from Callejas to our service area. No,
Well,
I
you
don't
should
know,
go
I
talk
don't
to
know
them.
from
We
a
did.
pipeline.
The 20-inch natural gas
I just want to stop here right now because this is getting way off topic to a certain extent, but Gene, I'm going to answer your question. And I do have Bessie in here from City of Ventura. I'm not going to throw her out there, but you know, there are dialogues that are going to be going on this August, this September going forward on whether it's 30-inch, 36-inch, whatever you want to call it, to be able to look at those things and who all needs to come to the table to be able to get this project in line going and get it done. So, you know, I think, you know, I hate to tell you to cool your heels, but cool your heels. We are going to be talking to people to be able to do this. And it is, as you found out from Susan Mulligan, it is something that we have sat down and began the discussions with Cayugas and hope to move through that here in the next few months to where we can get a good partnership to be able to address the providing of state water in such a manner and also storage at Lake Casitas in such a manner that it benefits the entire Ventura County in many, many ways. It's just, to my viewpoint, it's a tremendous move finally after years and years of you know, state water not coming into this area, that everybody is looking at it as seeing benefits countywide, whether it's insurance policy for an earthquake or water supply insurance for an area that is going to be drought stricken. So that is going to be happening. We'll keep you updated as we are able to provide information. Also understand that there's going to be some negotiations that are also going to follow, and that's not something that we're going to be negotiating here at a board meeting in the public venue. It's going to be between the partners that are going to try to get this thing done. So, you know, I hate to get riled up, particularly in my last few days here, but stay patient because I'm going to be out there too, probably sitting right next to you, trying to help these types of things move along. And they do need to get done, and I just can't say enough that now's the time to do it, and now's the time to really proceed forward. But we need to come in with the right project, and I see it. I see the right project coming up. So, sorry, Gene, but you and I will still talk, right?
I'm always willing to talk.
Yeah, all right. Thank
I
you.
am not known for being shy and quiet.
Thank you.
I'm always
Thank you,
glad to
Gene.
talk.
Okay, thank you.
I also do. I don't just talk.
I have one more comment so we can move forward on this. I just want to let you know that Julia Aranda had a pre-proposal meeting with consultants today regarding the comprehensive water plan. So that is moving forward, and we have a schedule for that coming up. Perhaps when Julia comes up on our other project, she can drop just a note on when we're looking at these proposals to come in.
Okay, we'll move along. Thank you. Did you have some more comments?
No more comments.
I
All
do.
right, we'll move
Hang on
to
a
board
second, Jim.
director comments.
I just want to let everybody know that we're still working on the data that's in this landing page, and we'll try to get it to be as correct as possible. I've already noted a couple of things, and they've changed it. They've been working on it, and I will continue to work on it until it is correct and intelligible. Thank you.
Director Kaiser?
Let's just put it.
Is all your comments? Okay. Yeah, I have a few comments, maybe a question or two. Looking at, which I had the opportunity to do, is review the Ojai City Council meeting from last night. It was interesting, I gotta say that, but it raised some questions in my mind too that maybe need to have further clarification. And I hope Steve, you'll indulge me here. There was comments about significant amount of water being taken from the lake to supplement the Golden State wells. That there was the hope that that could be reduced significantly, if not eliminated. But I think it begs the question of why is that taking place, so the public can have a better understanding of why that particular well that we acquired through the Golden State purchase, of which I want to commend you with all that work that you did over the years, taking care of working with Ojai Flow and making that whole thing happen. That was one heck of an accomplishment that you made. But getting back to my question though, maybe you could explain to the public why that is.
Why Golden State?
Why that particular well needs to be supplemented by lake water.
Well, it's really the way the Ojai. There's not a simple answer. And I'm sorry, it's kind of like, our questions a couple of weeks ago regarding globalist. There's no, excuse me, bless you. There's no complete simple answer to it, but I'll be straightforward with it. The the system was built in such a way that it was difficult for Golden State to move water from its well field to areas that they took on over time, such as moving water from the well field near San Antonio Creek and bringing it all the way over into the Arbolada and even further than the Arbolada. And so it became more of what is the convenient hookup to Casitas to be able to get that water into their system. So there was that. There may have been issues of wells that had trouble. You know, there were also times when the wells would dip and would be less productive. So there were a variety of different reasons that Golden State would utilize our supply out of Lake Casitas, and which is their supply too. I mean, let's put it out there. The taxpayers of the Golden State area pay taxes for the Ventura River project. But it's just a question of how the water is moved and where it's coming from, and is the groundwater available to be able to provide that to the city of Ojai out of their well field. And there were times that they had to make decisions because of well issues, system issues, to take water from Lake Casitas. And I remember it was probably 1986 that we put in a meter over on Cuyama in Montana, and that was because they had such difficulties moving across. And if you were here at that time, you remember the intersection at Sierra and Cuyama blowing up pretty regularly and water spewing everywhere. You remember that, Bob?
Daily for 3 or 4 years.
That was a good example of, you know, having a system that really couldn't transmit water across the city. But, you know, whether they had the wells there that could do it or not, it was another question. So we were there, we had the Matillhawk conduit, major large line, and provided them connections to their system so that they could continue to provide ample water to its citizens, but it would come from Lake Casitas instead of this well field.
So current situation then, and what we're doing to resolve that?
I think our current situation is we're looking at this well field, and when we took it on, some of the pump volumes, the pump capacities that we looked at on those wells were woeful compared to what they advertised. And so we have been spending the last year looking at those wells. We're going to be spending a little bit more time looking at those wells, deciding on whether to do, you know, rehabilitations or maybe getting some of the wells out of the system and causing the wells that remain to be our main pumpers. So we have also set up some other circumstances within the system that allow us to run the wells at all times, so that the water that is demanded by the area, it would be provided by the wells as much as possible. Now we've had, I think last week or two, looking for Mike, I think we've had to bring some water in from Lake Casitas, but in the last year we really have been dedicated towards supplying Ojai with the groundwater supply, and have been very successful at doing it because of some of the changes that our staff have made to the system, and are continuing to look at making into that system. Can I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I think that, you know, the public is a little bit more informed from that. The next comment I had was also in regards to the city council meeting, and there was some discussion about pool covers. You know, looking at, you know, I think of our own lake where it's losing roughly about 6% per annum in the way of, you know, volume through evaporation. You know, I'm assuming that, unless council can tell me otherwise, I'm assuming that, you know, individual jurisdictions such as cities, et cetera, through their police powers can enact such things as requiring covers to pools, et cetera, to help us out during this drought event. Is that a correct assumption, council?
I think the city has the ability to do that, yes.
Yeah, much like they have for other things, plastic straws, nuclear-free zones, et cetera. So I think that that'd be something that hopefully the city, as well as, you know, other purveyors and, you know, jurisdictions that depend upon us could, you know, seriously look at and entertain. And then the other comment I had, because I've gotten calls from the public wanting to know about, you know, the public transparency, and I appreciate the city, through Councilman Weirick, you know, basically providing for these videotapes of our meetings until such time as we're able to get our system online. But how does the public access those particular videotapes so they can see what's actually transpiring at our meetings?
Condense that question down so I can understand it.
How does the public get a chance to view these particular meetings that are being recorded of ours.
Where's the link?
Where's the
The ones
link?
that are currently being recorded?
Yeah.
This one right there.
This one right
I
here.
don't know, Ray, where do those go once you get done with it? I don't know.
I hand them over to Bill Weirick, and I'm not sure where they're going.
Yeah, I'm not either.
It'd be nice, again, view of the public transparency, et cetera, since we don't have our system online yet, and hopefully that'll be in the near future, that we have the ability to.
From what I understand, they're for archival purposes. As a reference.
We can call Bill and see what happens.
Yeah, you can
I
find
think
out.
the way it was presented was for public, awareness and transparency.
Yeah.
It'd be helpful to have that kind of cooperation until we get our system online. Those are all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, Director Berger. Hicks. We'll move on to verbal.
Oh, wait, are we
reports.
still in board comment?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize we had moved from general manager to board.
Yes, we have.
I have some extra. May I proceed?
You have another crack at it.
Okay, good. For the timeline for updating this landing page, I think that we ought to do it every 2 weeks during the summer and every month during the winter, so we can get closer to reality on this landing page. Let's see. And I'd also like to report, well, no, that's for the next one. I guess that will do. Well, now we can go to where we.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we will move to verbal reports on meetings attended. Director Baggerly?
Yes, I did attend the Steve Bennett, Assemblymember Monique Limon meeting at the supervisor's office. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of the group. I think it's the Water Cooperative Utility Group or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, we spent most of the time discussing the declaration of a water drought emergency. And everyone agreed to do that. So Supervisor Bennett brought his letter to the Board of Supervisors, and Mayor Johnny Johnson brought his letter to the City Council. And I believe we're going to have an action on the 22nd. That's what I believe we agreed to at that meeting. Is that not correct?
I think that's a topic that I think we're going to discuss in committee and try to move, if we can, to the 22nd. It's a question of whether we're going to do a water shortage emergency or we're going to do a declaration of stage 4 in advance of getting to stage 4.
I don't think that was discussed.
Okay.
Okay. But,
There are a lot of
okay,
things that
we're
were
going to
discussed.
have a look at it then, right? Okay. Let's see. That's what I have. No, actually, I do have some more. We need to know where our PR consultant, Rincon Strategies, is on the newsletter that he said was going to be worked on and gotten out very quickly, and the stakeholder info page, and some of the other outreach efforts that was agreed upon in his contract. I think things
Well, you
are
saw
moving.
the first one here.
Yeah,
the new-
that's fine. But, Steve and I talked about a newsletter need to be gotten out before he was hired, and that was 3 or 4 months ago. So I'm getting a little impatient with the speed in which this PR consultant is getting things out to the public. So I think we need to have a look at that. Maybe the executive committee can look at that.
Russ, I don't think Rincon Consultants was.
Strategies. Rincon Strategies.
It's not Chris. Oh, you said
Yes.
consultant, Rincon Consultant. That's a different-
Rincon Strategies is the consultant.
Yes. We're talking the same.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Will do.
okay, thank you. That's it.
Director Kaiser, any meetings?
None. Thank you.
Bergen? Nope. Hicks? I have none. So we will move to the consent agenda. I have items A and B, which are minutes of July 25th and June 13th combined. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have the second. Minutes be approved and accepted. We call the roll.
There was one mistake. Sorry, I have to go look it up. Hang on.
Which meeting?
I believe that was in June. Oh, yes. It's Mayor Johnny Johnston for the city of Ojai, not the city of Ventura.
Thank you.
Well,
Everybody knows that anyway.
everybody does, but
Hey,
we gotta have it.
We're sorry, John.
Thank you.
Do we send apologies to the city? But Betsy, don't carry that back.
Yeah, we want them back.
Thank you. With that correction, call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen? Yes. Mr. Hicks?
Yep.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. Moving to review of accounts payable. Pleasure of the board.
I had a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. On page 3, we had a deposit overpayment of $6,981, and I'm wondering what kind of a deposit was that? That's a pretty big overpayment. It's item 03691.
It's a trust payment.
It's a what?
Trust payment.
Trust payment?
Yeah, yeah.
Julie, okay. She can answer.
Okay, that was a deposit that a customer paid a $10,000 deposit for a meter installation, and then we charge our time and materials to it and give them the refund back. That's what that was for.
Okay, that answers it, thank you. One other similar situation on page 8, item 03693, a camp refund or readjustment on the, whatever, the camping fee of $3,020. I'm going, that seems unusually large. Maybe it's a similar situation, I don't know. But Joe, you got any input on that?
When was it?
Well, it's on page 8
I have page 8. So.
of the bill.
It was Yael Kornfeld. $3,020.
Looks like a mistake was made on the charge.
When, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but when a customer reserves camping, they can do it 6 months in advance, and if they cancel in the appropriate window, they receive a check back. We can't refund their credit card. I can get you the details on that, but that would have been a large group with that amount of money.
It would have been a group campsite.
Yes, or many campsites for under one name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. When Denise gets back, she can give us that. Okay, any other questions, issues?
Move to approve.
Second.
And Henry, second. Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen? Yes. Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. Moving to item 8, General Manager's verbal report on water security status. Do you have anything left to say about water security?
Hell, yeah. I think
One more
so.
time on the
Yeah.
city.
Well, cover where we're at with the state water project, and we will definitely be reporting more. It seems like July was the month that I took vacation, Susan Mulligan took vacation, and as did Kevin Brown. So we're kicking it in gear the next couple of weeks with really revving that up. Also, just an update, I talked to Lou Nagy at WREA regarding the Matilla formation boring, and I've asked him to do a thorough initial evaluation, a CEQA evaluation before we go marching out into the area with drill rigs. And so I think we're going to hold off bringing forward that until we can get that CEQA documentation. This is a very important project and it needs to be done right. And CEQA is a very important process to get accomplished, even in an initial study and even in an exploratory well. And I think we need to do our due diligence in performing that before we jump out there with a large contract to drill a 7,000-foot deep hole. So we're going to be working through that in the next 4 weeks.
Steve, could I ask you a question? I know Mike Comer, I think you know Mike, is drilling a well now up there, and I don't know if you're on the board there, Russ. Are you aware of that well that he's drilling? Because it's right across the street from our diversion dam, so pretty close. It seems to me like it'd be smart to go watch and see what Mike's doing and see what he hits down there. before we go sinking $1 million into a 6,000 foot well.
Well, Mike's not going down into 6,000.
Probably
well
not.
to start with.
But it'd be interesting to see what he's hitting, if he's hitting. He's a pretty smart guy, so I imagine there is some water down there someplace.
Oh, yeah, he has Jordan Kier working for him, so.
To drill a
Anyway,
well cell water.
I just wonder if any of our people have made contact with him or just,
I've personally met with Mike out in the field several times.
okay.
So I can always
That'd be great.
talk to him.
Somebody can talk to him, see how he's coming, if he hits something, how deep it is and so forth, because it's similar, it's right across the street.
Yeah,
Basically.
he's not going down into the law formation, I can tell you that for sure.
Okay.
That's what we really want to know about.
And the
Maybe you
re-
hit some
Bill?
water quicker. You never know.
Bill, the reason why I don't know about it is because I know about the wells in the Ojai Basin. Not out
Yeah,
there.
he's out. Okay.
When we were, you had something in
I
addition?
just, nothing
I'll
else.
just add to our issue with the state water project. We had hoped to have both Cayugas and City of Ventura general managers here today to help discuss and talk about progress on this project. With vacations and travel, that wasn't possible, so we're working on, as soon as possible, having them here to give you the information. They're both willing to send staff folks here, but they would like to be here themselves to give you the information. So we'll let you know as soon as we can arrange for them to be here and participate in that discussion. So maybe they can give you the information that is,
Available.
what, understandable?
Available.
It's all available. It will not be a negotiating session because we will not negotiate in a public forum. That's not negotiating. That's, anyway, that's where we stand on that, and we will let you know just as soon as we can arrange for them both to be here, so.
Will you put that on
hopefully
the website? when you
Oh,
say
yes.
that? Okay.
And it'll be on, and it will be on the agenda. So,
Jim, with the understanding it's going to be an informative type of meeting with those general managers being present, is it going to happen in the near months? Are we looking at maybe September, or what's the idea?
I think we're hoping to get August 22nd.
We're hoping for August
So I'll still
22nd.
be here, right?
Okay.
We were hoping to have it this time, but
Yeah, okay.
it just didn't work out.
I just don't want the
Too much
public to
traffic.
think it's going to be protracted out.
No, no, it's just as soon as possible. It's
But
up to them.
there is
when
one
they're-
caveat. Trying to wrangle general managers all together and because of their busy schedules is a little bit like herding
Herding
cats.
cats?
Yes.
Well, let's not relate to general managers. Okay. I had one request to speak to item 8. Bruce, you want to speak again?
My name is Bruce Kubler. I got a question about the state water project, the California Water Fix, and who gets to pay for it, and if you don't pay for it, what happens to your entitlement? So my understanding is MWD is approved paying for basically most of the project, along with the people up in Santa Clara County, the big urban water users up there. So they're footing the bill for the twin tunnels, and they're committed to pay for that. And my understanding is that other state contractors, if they want to have their full entitlement, other than having it being reduced by not participating, have to maybe sign up and commit to paying for the additional cost of the water fix. I don't know if you have to do that, or is it a default that you do if you don't back off? My understanding was that for contractors that don't commit to pay for the additional cost of the state project, MWD in effect would take over their part of their entitlement. So the water fix, in my mind, it kind of restores some of the lost capacity or the yield of the project due to environmental conditions, so that the water fix isn't new water, but it helps restore some of the lost yield. So I'm just wondering, you guys are the official representative of what Ventura and United in this part of the county, and so I don't know if you can speak for them or if you plan to then, or I don't know what the situation
We're-
is. I just would like to
We're
have.
also
next-
trying to find that out,
Oh,
Bruce,
okay, I just
because
wondered
if we know that we're gonna end up having to share in that cost some way, but we don't know yet what it's going to be.
Yeah, let me clarify one. A rumor that I've heard it a couple times and you brought it up today is Met absorbing our allocation. You know, we have a contract with the state, and unless that contract is changed by Ventura County Watershed Protection District, we have a contract for state water. There's no absorption by Met. What it does do, if you do not involve yourself with the California Water Fix, it leaves you at, I want to say, a disadvantaged position of you have to basically drag your water through the delta, put up with the delta smelt issues, and that, you know, is the negative part of it. You may not have the reliability that you would otherwise have with the California Water Fix, and that's the big thing about the tunnels is increasing the reliability and getting it so that it gets around the delta and you're not entangled with all the things that are attached to delta. If you decide not to join in on the water fix, you're in a group that is otherwise dealing with the delta issues.
And we don't know how they're gonna separate that yet.
And
for example, one of the largest areas, the West Side District, which is using massive amounts of water for irrigation, was not supporting the water fix, and they were hoping to just pay for the water and not participate, but that's probably not going to happen. So we don't, I wish we knew, but Met is not paying for all of it. There will be enough to go around that the rest of us will have to kick in.
So there's not some deadline that you have to take action by to ensure that you have.
This is something that we're looking at for the next 6 months of everybody coming to conclusions, if not sooner. A lot of these issues have really been capsulized, and there's a few new ones that have come up and have been very interesting just in the last 3-4 months on really how things are going to be pulled off as far as funding it, who's involved, who's not involved. And it's one for us that the 3 agencies are going to sit down and talk among managers. We're going to be doing that, but we're also needing to get concurrence from our board that we're either in or we're out, and looking at the numbers and what the costs are for state water, for the water fix. And I understand, and I'm going to throw a number out there. If you want to do the math, go for it. You know, they're looking at what, $16 billion for the project, and you know, just assuming that everybody is joined in, which they're not, but our part of that California, our allotment, if they go based on allotment, is 0.25% of the total state water. So we'll be trying to develop up, we'll be developing up, I've been doing a lot of that already, but we'll be presenting some numbers to discuss whether we're going to move forward as United and the City of Ventura are going to be discussing with their boards. And then we have to come to some joint decision on how we're going to move forward as 3 agencies that are under one contract, and move that forward to Ventura County Watershed Protection District, the County Board of Supervisors, because that's who state still recognizes as the contractor, and go through it. So it's a good question.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment regarding item number 8? We'll move to item number 9, recommend approval of an agreement and purchase order to Consulting West and not to exceed some $32,000 for the preliminary design of Rincon Avenue 1 and Avenue Pump Plant electrical generators. Pleasure of the board, do you have a report?
I just want to, you know, this is a project that we would like to move forward with, and you know, it begins to get us down the road on hazard mitigation projects of getting large generators at these large pump plants. And we found, you know, a challenge when we had fire and losing power in this area. We were able to survive on our tanks, but, you know, we had to take a lot of action to be able to do that. So the issue and the question is that we're looking at is trying to get on a hazard mitigation program offered by FEMA, and getting the design completed so that we can provide it to FEMA and say, here's what we're looking at, here are the costs, here's the size of the generator, to see whether we can, you know, gain some funding for generators that are, I want to say they're right about the $1 million cost range for each of these generators. So if we can link into the hazard mitigation program to help. It helps our ratepayers to get something done around here and moves us forward. And Julia, any other comments you would like to provide?
I think you summarized it.
Yeah, and I know Mike has been also working on this project as he was feverishly working on generators during the fire. We'd like you to help us move forward so we can perhaps pursue some funding.
Quick question, Steve. First of all, I totally support this. In regards to dollars and cents, if we're successful in this application to get hazard mitigation funding, what are we looking at in the way of money coming from FEMA to help us and help the ratepayers out?
Julie, do you have, was it
It was a pretty high percentage, I would say. It was, I think, 75% of the project total.
Well, much?
About 75%.
Of the 32. Good.
Very good.
So do I hear?
I move.
Move to approve. Have a second? We call the roll, please.
Mr. Bagley?
I'd like to confer with council before I vote on this. And I'm writing him a note.
So you're abstaining?
No, I'd like you to wait a minute.
Okay.
My answer is yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. Item 10, recommend approval of an agreement and purchase order to Rincon Consultants not to exceed $88,000 for the professional environmental consulting service for the preparation of an initial study and mitigation negative declaration for Ojai water system improvement. This is a big project.
Well, this is related to the many projects that we're looking in to improve and rehabilitate and replace in the Ojai water system. And there's two ways to go about it, and one is to go bit by bit by bit, but as you can see in the pardon me? Oh, I heard somebody talk. We see that it'd be a more appropriate manner to go in and have one firm do one document and look at these projects, particularly since they are pipelines. They are mostly in the streets of the city of Ojai, but also understanding that there are issues that we need to address in the city of Ojai.
How does that relate to item number 11, which has 4 projects?
It would cover those types of projects. And these projects in 11 are designed.
And this was all funds that were set aside with the purchase?
These are CFD funds that we would be working at getting designed and getting designed for. So the CEQA is a very important one to do, particularly in light of recent actions by the City Council regarding cultural resources within the city of Ojai. So that's just one aspect of many. So,
okay.
Any other questions regarding that?
Anyone have any other questions?
I have no questions, I have a statement.
Statement?
Yep. I don't think I've ever witnessed the amount of seamless work that Julia Aranda and Lindsay Cowell have done. And yeah, I mean, from the pre-planning, the engineering, to the RFP, the contracts, and the board letters, all completed flawlessly. Thank you.
And her budget report was fabulous.
Yes.
So are you recommending item 10?
I am, and actually 9 and
11 also?
Yeah.
We'll do them separate.
All 3 of them.
A second. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen? Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. Item 11, which has 4 projects all related to this same issue. Any further comment?
Move to approve A through D.
Second.
A through D?
D delta.
And I heard a second?
Which
Yeah.
one seconded? Thank you.
Baggerly second. Call the roll.
Mr. Baggerly?
Yes.
Mr. Heiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks? Mr. Ward?
Yes. Item 12, recommend the board reject all proposals for design build services for the following projects. A and B, Robles Casitas Canal Rice Bridge Replacement Project, and Robles Casitas Canal De La Grange Bridge Replacement Project. Direct staff to reevaluate the projects. I understand these bids came in considerably more than was anticipated.
Very much so, yes. So
We need to go back and start over.
we have a different game plan for these and are going to try to move through these. The first A really has I don't want to say an importance because it is a FEMA OES project and it's because we're looking at something other than replacing a wood bridge that we think would cost a lot more than, I'll call it a steel bridge or a railroad car bridge. We'd like to move forward with a different direction on it and we're trying to find some people who can do a bridge for us in a very, I want to say expedient manner.
Mr. President, I'll move for A and B.
Do I hear a second? Director Bergen, second. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Baggerly?
Yes.
Mr. Heiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. Item 13, letter of intent and request to consolidate by Tico Mutual Water District. And we're asking for direction to the staff. You have the letter in front of you. You want to speak to that, Steve?
Yeah, this is I think a situation that we're going to see some more of. I know of one other agency that has called me and expressed a desire for consolidation, and we've worked with Tico Mutual Water Company. Actually, we worked with Tico Mutual Water Company back in 1989, and at that time they decided to remain as a private water company. So they've come back to us this last year and are really concerned about their position as a water company and desire to consolidate. So we did work with them. We brought up some options. They were also working with Ventura River Water District with Bert Rapp, and we were working together trying to figure out the best way to consolidate Tico Mutual Water Company. So the letter indicates that they want to go fully with us. We were trying to see how we could, who could better serve each area that they had between the two agencies, but it sounds like they want to go with us. So I think what we need to do is begin to have some meetings with them, develop some agreements with Tico Mutual Water Company. I don't know about the way that they would like to finance at this particular point in time. There are state revolving funds. They're not a disadvantaged community, so that gets them off of that track. But there may be a variety of different options that we can, that they can consider, or and we could also consider between state revolving funds, whether they pay for and perform things without involving us. There's a variety of different ways we can do this. But I think we've laid out for them kind of a roadmap on what we see as changes, that their water well would become part of our system. We would be tied into the Miramonte well and blended because it does have high nitrates. Some of the system that they have is in good shape. There's others that need to be replaced, and meters that need to be installed that are of our meter brand, style, and reading capability. So we have attached here kind of an outline that we had worked with them on this. So it really for us right now with everything that we've got on our docket, and I understand they're not a direct urgency, but it's something that should get done. We have to place some type of priority on it with all the other priorities that we're working with right now, and work with Tico on trying to resolve it and get it going.
Well,
I don't know what their schedule is right
Steve,
now.
I think it'd be wise to put this off to the first of the year with all the things we've got on our plate, I just don't think it's fair to throw this on us at this time. Another 4 months isn't gonna make that much difference to them, I don't think, and we can still study it a little more or whatever, but I think we should put it off to the first of the year.
If looking through the list of the things that is going to be happening with bringing the Ojai water system up and all of the pipelines, et cetera, that are involved, I am really reluctant to put this on anything else on the staff in terms of an additional absorption or consolidation at this point.
Why don't we entertain the idea of meeting with some of their board members and trying to figure out what they feel as far as the time schedule, and tell them that they know what kind of workloads we're under. We've expressed that to them.
Okay, Director Kaiser.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I think that their board, since this particular potential project is within my division, and there are neighbors right around the corner, in fact, for that matter, I think that they're amenable to the fact that they can't have it happen right now. And I would just ask the board to allow me, as the meetings do progress after the first of the year, to be part of that meeting with their board members.
Good. Okay, Director Bergen.
Yeah, I have a question. In reading through this, that part of the system, that given our system won't have pressure to get water to the houses without pumps. Can Ventura serve that part? And you know, although if they want to go to all of us, I mean, having it where you've got some houses where you're going to say, well, you got to put in your own pumping station, that's kind of not so good. So even though if they want to come entirely with us, maybe part of this is saying, okay, well, you have to, this part, go with Ventura so that you don't run into a situation like that. That sounds very hazardous to me.
I agree.
Good point, sir.
And I'm glad you picked up on that with the document, because that was the point that we were really, I'm surprised that they came at it this direction.
Yeah, and I think that may be something that when you do get to negotiating, that may be something to insist on. And as long as Ventura is amenable to do it and you don't have to have individual homeowners at risk, then it makes sense. But anyway, I agree, we need it.
Well, it does not appear to be a simple, straightforward consolidation. It's going to be involved, and I'm reluctant to put any more on the staff.
I know my O&M staff would roll their eyes if I talked about another absorption. You know, it was hard enough with the state.
We're still trying to deal with the other, and it will be for another year. Okay. So in direction to
maybe we could add attendance at the TECO Mutual meetings by Director Kaiser as a day of service, and let him keep up with what the heck they're up to and what they're doing.
If Director Kaiser is amenable to that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Why don't we do that? But direction to staff is that
on the latter part, I would actually like that in a motion, the day of service.
I move that Director Kaiser attend the TECO Mutual Water Company meetings to keep abreast of the situation as a day of service.
I'll second.
Thank you. We call a roll on that motion.
Mr. Bagley?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes, thank you. And staff has enough direction?
Yes.
That we're
Fine. I'll put a letter together to them to recognize the direction that this board would like.
And we are at a point where we're going to deal with information items. You have A and B there. If anyone hasn't gone to the Metropolitan Water District Tour State Water Project facilities, I went many years ago, and it's really worth doing if you haven't. But
I'd also like to add that Callegas and Metropolitan put this on, and the public is invited to go. So, you know, look at this flyer. I went 2 years ago. I think Angelo Spandrell went with some of the city council members. really a good trip, and they treat you well. It's a very good trip, very informative. If you don't know what state water is about, in 2 days, you will know quite a bit about state water. I don't think you're gonna know everything, but you'll at least know where the water comes from and where it goes to, and some of the issues that are in state water, and it's a very good trip. And
Definitely what some of the issues are, and if you need, that is part of the agenda package, so
yes,
so you can respond to that. Costs are in there also, so it is a worthwhile venture if you can afford 2 days to do that. So it's there for your information. There was something else. So for the board,
I move item 14A and B we receive and file.
Second.
okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes.
Ms. Bergen?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes. I will add one more thing. Those of you that may have seen the item that Rebecca just sent out regarding mandatory harassment training that happens every 2 years. There is a webinar August 30th, I believe, so look at that if you're due to have that. That is a mandatory occurrence every 2 years. And it can be done, I assume we can do it here?
You can do it at your homes.
Oh, that's right, you can. It is a webinar and you can do it online. It's a 2-hour session. So look at that if you want to sign up.
And if you're confused, that's in addition to your ethics training under AB 1234.
Yes.
It's an additional training that's not required by the state.
I think I may have had harassment training at the sanitary district not too long ago, but I can't find my certificate.
Oh, I can't believe you've had it.
I can't.
Okay. Well, we'll try to get it on file. Okay, that's it. I will say.
I wanted to just bring
Yes.
something up. I remember a couple months ago, Russ, you were pretty adamant about getting the board to approve the company that does the video taping of the supervisors meetings so that this could be, do you remember that?
Yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah, so, I mean, it did,
coming up and in the
this
works.
isn't on Bill Weirick to get it out to the public, I think it really is.
no.
No,
on you guys.
we got the people who put these in to customize the system so that Granicus could take it over and make it work.
Oh, okay, good.
So it's coming up, but we haven't taken an action on it.
As soon as they can get it together.
Because it sounded like you were all like,
No, it's working.
okay,
Everything takes twice as long
I
as you
know,
want to.
believe me, I know.
I will say, I know we have one more meeting, board meeting with Steve, but I spent 21 years, soon 22 years, Bill's 29.
here.
Working with the last 16, with, or 20 with Steve in your 34 years, and I can't say enough other than thank you. Retirement is great, but as I told you before, there's no such thing really as retirement. There's only redirection.
Yeah, I agree.
And interest.
Thank you, Jeff.
Right. With that, meeting is adjourned.
No,
wait a minute. I'm sorry. We're
gonna have a closed session. Make this announcement before you all leave.
It's my turn.
Your turn, please.
Can we
Welcome to the heat.
1 minute?
John has an announcement.
We have a closed session pursuant to government code section 54957, B as in boy 1, which is employment matter. The position to be discussed is general manager. We will come back into open session and make any open session announcements at that time. I'd advise the board now to make sure you turn off your mics, and why don't we give the videographer a couple minutes to take down, and then we'll start.